The ghost in the void. The signal that shouldn't exist. Captain Threnval of the survey vessel Cascade had spent 20 years mapping dead space. Empty sectors where nothing lived, where even light seemed reluctant to travel. His 4 eyes had seen derelict stations, frozen comets, and the silent graves of forgotten civilizations. But he had never seen anything like this. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, her voice tight with confusion. "I'm picking up a signal. Old frequency. Very old." Threnval's primary eyes focused on the display while his secondary pair scanned the bridge crew. They were all staring at their screens with the same expression, disbelief mixed with something that looked like fear. "How old?" he asked. 200 years, sir. Maybe more. The encryption is ancient. Pre-galactic council. Pre-contact era." The bridge fell silent. Pre-contact meant only one thing. Before the galaxy had united. Before the great civilizations had learned to work together. Back when war was common and trust was rare. "Origin?" Threnval demanded. The officer's hands trembled slightly over her console. "Earth, sir. It's a human ship." "The approach." The Cascade changed course, engines humming as they turned toward the signal source. Through the viewport, stars stretched and bent as they accelerated. Threnval stood at the observation window, his tall frame casting shadows across the deck. Humans. The species that had changed everything. 200 years ago, humanity had been on the verge of extinction. A plague had swept through their worlds, killing billions. The survivors had sent out desperate calls for help, but by the time the galaxy responded, Earth had gone silent. Everyone assumed they were gone. Then, 50 years later, humans had appeared again. Not broken and desperate, but strong and unified. They never explained what happened during those missing years. They never talked about the silence. And now, a ship from that dark time was calling out to them. "Visual contact in 30 seconds, announced the navigation officer. Threnval's throat tightened. "All hands, battle stations. Shields up. This is not a drill." The crew moved quickly, efficiently. They had trained for this. Unknown contacts were always dangerous. The ship appeared slowly, emerging from the darkness like a creature rising from deep water. It was massive, larger than the Cascade by half. Its hull was dark gray, marked with strange symbols that glowed faintly. Ice crystals covered most of its surface, sparkling in the starlight. "It's beautiful," someone whispered. Threnval had to agree. Despite the cold dread in his stomach, the human vessel was magnificent. Its design was elegant, purposeful. This was not a cargo hauler or a research ship. This was something built for a specific mission. "Life signs?" he asked. "Negative, sir. No heat. No power. It's completely dead." Threnval nodded slowly. "Prepare a boarding team. I'm going over." His first officer turned sharply. "Sir, protocol requires." "I know what protocol requires," Threnval interrupted gently. "But this is history floating out there. Whatever happened to humanity during the silence, the answer might be on that ship. I need to see it myself." Inside the ghost ship. The boarding shuttle attached to the human vessel's airlock with a hollow clang. Threnval's team stood ready, their armor sealed, weapons charged but lowered. They weren't here to fight ghosts. The airlock opened with surprising ease. Someone had maintained the systems well before the power died. They stepped through into darkness. Threnval activated his helmet light. The beam cut through the black, revealing a corridor that stretched deeper into the ship. Frost covered everything, walls, floor, ceiling. Their boots crunched with each step. "Temperature is -100 degrees, reported his science officer, a small crystalline being named Syl. "This ship has been cold for a very long time." They moved forward carefully. The corridor was wide, designed for human proportions. Emergency lights flickered weakly as they passed, powered by some backup system that refused to die completely. "Captain, look at this." Sil pointed to a panel on the wall. Symbols glowed faintly, human writing, but strange. "Old style." Threnval activated his translator. The words appeared in his helmet display: Project Exodus. Last hope. Earth remembers. His blood ran cold. Keep moving. The discovery. They found the first body in what looked like a medical bay. A human, perfectly preserved by the cold, sitting in a chair with their hands folded in their lap. They looked peaceful, almost as if sleeping. Threnval approached slowly. The human's uniform bore symbols he recognized: military rank, scientific insignia. This had been someone important. "There are more, sir," called another team member from the doorway. "Many more." They moved through the ship, finding humans everywhere. In corridors, in rooms, at consoles. All of them sitting or lying down. All of them peaceful. None showed signs of violence or struggle. "What happened here?" Sil whispered, her crystalline body reflecting the light in strange patterns. Threnval didn't answer. He couldn't. The scene was impossible to understand. These people hadn't died fighting. They hadn't died afraid. They had simply stopped. They reached the bridge finally. It was vast, designed for a crew of dozens. More bodies sat at their stations, frozen in time. At the center, in the captain's chair, sat a human woman. Her uniform was more elaborate, marked with symbols of command. Threnval approached her carefully. On her lap lay a datapad, its screen dark. He picked it up gently, carefully, as if it might crumble to dust. "Can we power this?" he asked Sil. "Maybe. Let me try." The crystalline officer worked quickly, connecting cables from her suit to the ancient device. After several tense minutes, the screen flickered to life. Text appeared. Human writing. The translator worked slowly, processing the old language. "It's a log," Threnval said softly. "The captain's personal log." He began to read aloud, his voice echoing in the frozen bridge. "The captain's log. This is Captain Sarachan of the Earth vessel Exodus. If you're reading this, then humanity survived. I pray that's true. 200 years ago, we learned the truth. The plague that killed our people was not natural. It was designed. Created by forces within the galaxy who feared what humanity might become. They called us dangerous. They called us unpredictable. So they tried to end us before we could spread. But they didn't understand humans. We don't give up. We don't surrender. When they poisoned our worlds, we worked in secret. We found a cure. We saved ourselves. And then we decided to make sure it never happened again. This ship carries the greatest minds of Earth. Scientists, doctors, engineers. We left our dying world with one mission: to find the weapon that was used against us and destroy it. To hunt down every sample, every record, every trace of the plague before someone else could use it. We found it. All of it. We tracked down the research stations, the laboratories, the storage facilities. We destroyed them all. Every last piece of evidence. Every weapon that could threaten innocent life. But the final cache was protected. Guarded by automated defenses that we couldn't overcome without losses. So we made a choice. We took the plague aboard our own ship. All of it. Every sample. And we set course for the nearest star. We're going to burn it all. The ship, the plague, ourselves. Everything. We'll dive into the sun and make sure this evil never threatens anyone again. But something went wrong. Our engines failed. We're adrift now, too far from the star to reach it. Too damaged to return home. So we've made another choice. We've sealed the plague in our cargo hold. Triple containment. It should last centuries, maybe longer. We've recorded the coordinates, the warnings, everything. We've set up this beacon to broadcast our story. And then we're ending our lives. Peacefully. Together. We have medications that will let us sleep and simply not wake up. No pain. No fear. Just rest. To whoever finds this ship, destroy it. Don't try to study the plague. Don't try to use it. Don't even look at it. Just push this entire vessel into the nearest star and let it burn. We gave our lives to keep the galaxy safe. Honor that sacrifice. Please. This is Captain Sarah Chen, signing off. Earth remembers. Humanity endures. The log ended. Threnval stood in the silent bridge, surrounded by the peaceful dead, and felt tears, actual tears, forming in his eyes. His species didn't cry often. But this moment demanded it. Sir? Syl's voice was soft. What do we do? Threnval looked around at the frozen humans. Heroes, every one of them. They had given everything to protect people they would never meet. Civilizations they would never know. We honor their sacrifice, he said finally. We contact the Galactic Council. We tell them everything. And then we do exactly what Captain Chen asked. We push this ship into a star and let these brave souls rest. He placed the datapad back on Captain Chen's lap, positioning it carefully. Sleep well, Captain, he whispered. Your mission is complete. The galaxy is safe because of you. The truth revealed. The Council's response. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of Threnval's report. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the massive chamber, their voices echoing off crystalline walls. The mood was tense, uncertain. At the center podium, Threnval stood alone. Before him floated a holographic display showing images from the human ship, the peaceful bodies, the frozen corridors, Captain Chen's final log. This is impossible, declared Ambassador Krell, a hulking creature with scales like dark metal. Humans appeared 50 years after their supposed extinction. They were strong, unified. They showed no signs of this plague you describe. Because they cured it, Threnval replied calmly. They saved themselves. And then they spent years hunting down every trace of the weapon that was used against them. This ship carried the last of it. They were taking it to be destroyed. You claim someone created this plague deliberately? Another ambassador spoke up, their voice echoing through translation devices. That's a serious accusation. I'm not claiming anything, Threnval said. I'm reading what Captain Chen wrote. She said the plague was designed. Created as a weapon against humanity. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some of shock. Some of disbelief. And some, Threnval noticed, of fear. Who would do such a thing? Someone called out. That's what we need to find out, Threnval answered. He let his gaze sweep across the assembled representatives. 200 years ago, humanity was nearly destroyed. Someone tried to wipe them out before they could join the galactic community. We need to know who. And we need to know why. The investigation begins. The Galactic Council authorized a full investigation. Ships were dispatched to search for the research stations and laboratories that Chen's log mentioned. Teams of historians dug through old records, looking for any trace of the plague's origin. Threnval led the effort, driven by what he had seen on the ghost ship. Those humans had sacrificed everything. The least the galaxy could do was uncover the truth. The first breakthrough came 3 weeks later. A research team found a derelict station in an abandoned sector. Inside, they discovered old computers, still partially functional. The data they contained was damning. It was a conspiracy, the lead researcher told Threnval over a secure channel. Multiple species working together. They were afraid of humanity. Afraid of how fast humans learned, how quickly they adapted. So they created a plague specifically designed to target human biology. Names, Threnval demanded. I need names. We have them. 10 species were involved. Some contributed research. Others provided funding. A few even tested the plague on human colonies before the main release. Threnval felt sick. 10 species committed genocide? They didn't see it that way. They thought they were protecting the galaxy from a potential threat. They called it a preventive action. The trial. The evidence was overwhelming. Within months, the council had identified every individual involved in creating the plague. Most were dead. The conspiracy was 200 years old, after all. But their descendants lived. Their government still existed. The trial became the largest in galactic history. Thousands watched as prosecutors presented evidence, showed records, played intercepted communications. The conspirators had documented everything, never imagining their crime would be discovered. On the day of judgment, Threnval sat in the observer gallery. Beside him sat a human, Ambassador Marcus Webb, representing Earth. "Your people knew," Threnval said quietly. "When you returned 50 years ago, you knew what had been done to you." Webb nodded slowly. "We knew. Captain Chen's ship sent messages before it went silent. We learned the truth. We learned who tried to destroy us. Why didn't you tell the council? Why didn't you demand justice?" Webb was quiet for a long moment. "Because we were still recovering. Still rebuilding. If we had accused 10 major civilizations of genocide, we would have been destroyed, politically, economically, maybe literally. We were too weak to fight that battle." "But you're not weak anymore," Threnval observed. "No," Webb agreed. "We're not. But by the time we were strong enough to speak up, we had learned something important. Those 10 civilizations had changed. The people who committed the crime were dead. New generations had taken over. Governments had reformed. Should we punish children for their grandparents' sins?" Threnval considered this. "So you chose silence?" "We chose to move forward. To build relationships with the galaxy as it was, not as it had been. We chose to judge people by their current actions, not their history." Webb paused. "But we never forgot. And we made sure that if the truth ever came out, we would be ready to speak about forgiveness instead of revenge." The verdict. The council's judgment was unanimous. The 10 civilizations were found guilty of attempted genocide. Reparations were ordered, massive payments to human worlds, public apologies, memorials to be built. But there would be no executions. No destruction of worlds. Because humanity asked for something different. Ambassador Webb stood before the council and spoke words that would be remembered forever. "My people suffered terribly. We lost billions. We nearly ceased to exist. But we survived. And in surviving, we learned something about ourselves. We learned that humans are not defined by hatred or revenge. We're defined by our ability to endure, to adapt, and to choose hope over despair." He gestured to the holographic display showing Captain Chen's ship. "Those humans gave their lives to protect the galaxy. Not just humanity, everyone. They could have kept the plague. They could have used it as a weapon against their enemies. Instead, they chose to destroy it, even at the cost of their own lives. That's who humans are," Webb continued. "We're the species that will sacrifice everything to protect others. So today, on behalf of Earth and all human worlds, I ask the Council to show mercy. Let the reparations stand. Let the apologies be made. But let there be no more death, no more destruction. Let us build a future where this kind of hatred can never happen again." The chamber erupted in noise, some cheering, some protesting. But the council accepted humanity's request. Mercy instead of justice. Hope instead of vengeance. The memorial. 6 months later, a memorial was unveiled in Earth's orbit. A massive station, visible from the planet's surface, dedicated to Captain Chen and her crew. Inside, their names were inscribed on walls of polished crystal. Their story was told in a dozen languages. And at the center, preserved in a stasis field, was Captain Chen's datapad, still showing her final words. Threnval attended the dedication ceremony. He watched as Ambassador Webb floated in zero gravity, reading the names of the dead. Human families wept. Representatives from across the galaxy stood in respectful silence. "Captain," a voice said beside him. He turned to see a young human woman in a military uniform. "I'm Commander Sarah Chen. Great-great-granddaughter of the captain." Threnval's four eyes widened. "You carry her name. Our family always names one daughter Sarah. To remember. To honor." The young woman looked at the memorial. "Thank you for finding her. For telling her story. For making sure she didn't die unknown." "She was a hero," Threnval said simply. "The galaxy needed to know." Commander Chen smiled sadly. "Would you like to know something? My family has kept a secret for 200 years. Captain Chen left one final message. Not in her official log, but in a personal recording. She asked that it be shared only when the time was right. She handed him a small data crystal. I think the time is now." That evening, Threnval played the recording in his quarters aboard the Cascade. Captain Chen's face appeared, tired but peaceful. "Hello, future," she said with a weary smile. "If you're watching this, then we succeeded. The plague is destroyed. The galaxy is safe. And hopefully, humanity has survived and thrived." She leaned forward, her expression serious. "I want you to understand something. We didn't do this for glory. We didn't do it for recognition. We did it because it was right. Because when you have the power to protect people, you have the responsibility to do so. The galaxy tried to kill us. They feared us. Maybe they had reason, humans can be dangerous. But we chose to respond not with hatred, but with sacrifice. Not with revenge, but with protection." Her eyes seemed to look directly at Threnval through the centuries. "Tell them we forgave them. Tell them we understood their fear. And tell them that humans will always choose to be guardians, not destroyers. That's our gift to the galaxy. That's our promise." The recording ended. Threnval sat in the darkness of his quarters, thinking about the ghost ship, about the peaceful dead, about the species that had chosen forgiveness over vengeance. Humanity had suffered terribly. They had been pushed to the edge of extinction. And when they returned, they chose not to punish their attackers but to protect those who might be threatened next. That, Threnval realized, was why the galaxy needed humans. Not for their strength or their technology, but for their capacity to choose hope even in darkness. Outside his window, the memorial station glowed softly against the black of space. Inside it, the names of heroes who had given everything to protect strangers. The galaxy had tried to destroy humanity out of fear. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy what it truly meant to be civilized.